Ahead of the general elections on Tuesday, the country goes to the polls amid fears of post-election violence. Now, with campaigning ending yesterday, Kenyans are now seeking divine intervention ahead of the hotly contested elections. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to attend 2 church services. At the first service in Nairobi, he urged worshippers to observe peace. The Electoral Commission also held prayers at the National Tally Centre. Meanwhile, 4 foreign nationals linked to Kenya's opposition coalition, the National Super Alliance, have been deported ahead of Tuesday's elections. The deportation came hours after the party claimed that police had raided its tally centre in the capital, Nairobi. All right, for more on the story, we're joined by reporter Sarah Kimani in Kenya. A very good afternoon to you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us. A day of prayer in Kenya today. Tell us more about this day.
It is supposed to be a quiet day. We are having 48 days of silence, so to speak, where campaign rallies are not supposed to take place, no campaign advertisements either on print or electronic media. And so candidates decided to go to church. We had President Kenyatta attending 2 church services. In fact, he has just left the last service less than an hour ago, where he spoke to worshippers, asking them to pray for the country, to pray for peace, and to also pray for him as he undertakes what he calls the next journey that begins on Tuesday. He steered clear of politics as is expected, but he said that Kenyans should enjoy a moment of peace during this time.
So the rally ended yesterday. So are the politicians adhering to the rules and not campaigning?
So far, we have not had any cases of any of them campaigning. But you see, campaigning could be overt or covert, because just by appearing in church in front of people who are going to the polls in 2 days, and people who you expect to woo, then some people may see that as campaigning, but most of them saying, because the country today is having peace prayers, that they're indeed joining the rest of Kenyans in those peace prayers.
Now, this election is much anticipated and there are fears of violence. What have you heard so far?
Well, we spoke to the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission. One, they also have their own prayers at the National Tally Centre, which is like the heart of the whole electoral process, because that is where we will finally know who becomes the eventual winner of the presidential race. When we spoke to the chairman of SABC, he said that the commission is ready and it is ready to give a free, fair and credible election, and he said he can say that without fear of contradiction. Secondly, we have been speaking to the police and to the Interior Security Ministry. They have said that they have deployed just over 150,000 security officers, whom they expect to man both the polling centers and also the country. So issues of peace during the electoral process seem to be well taken care of. What many Kenyans are worried about is what happens when the results are announced. And the Kenyan government saying that indeed they will not allow any demonstrations, they will not allow even any celebrations, just to give the country a time for the results to sink in, whether there are any petitions to take place. All this because they fear that violence may break out whatever happens.
And we do understand that Kenyans in Nairobi are stocking up on food items amid fears that post-election violence will break out once the election results are being announced. So the threat of violence, Sarah, is getting greater every day. And it does appear that most Kenyans don't actually trust the security measures that have been put in place.
Probably having seen what happened in 2007 when the country was almost blockaded for a month, and where people ran out of food, ran out of even telephone airtime, where people could not be able to move from place to place. Some people have opted to move up country where they registered to vote. Others have fled altogether and will not be casting their ballots. A lot of politicians, including the president and his main rival, Raila Odinga, calling on Kenyans to stay put in the areas of residences and where they registered to vote, assuring them of peace during and after the elections. That has been taken in some places. Some people have chosen to ignore. But those who have, we've spoken to some who have decided to remain behind, and they're saying they're confident that everything will go on as planned and that the country will move on after the elections.
Now, this election is not only important for the Kenyan people, but for the entire region. So what exactly is at stake for the entire East African region?
Indeed, the entire region is actually watching the country because Kenya is in the middle of countries that are in conflict. South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kenya has troops in Somalia, meaning a lot of people, a lot of countries look at Burundi on the other side also. So a lot of countries looking to Kenya as a beacon of hope. It has fallen before, but now it is standing on its own 2 feet. It is a mediator for peace talks in almost all those countries that I have mentioned. And so the United Nations, the African Union, all of them are sending delegations to Kenya to remind Kenyans that they need to keep peace. In fact, tomorrow we expect that the African Union head of the observation mission, Thabo Mbeki, the former president of South Africa, will be making another plea for peace, another plea for patience, another plea for calm as the country goes to elections. Because, take for example, the United Nations is saying if anything happens to Kenya, humanitarian assistance to the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, to South Sudan, will not be able to reach them if the country is blockaded. Neighboring countries like Uganda and Rwanda, which are landlocked, depend on Kenya for imports, for their imports. So because they use the port of Mombasa, if anything happens to Kenya, then they will not be able to receive their imports, they will not be able to receive their produce. And so a lot of people saying everything and peace in Kenya will help business in the East African region to continue, and indeed it will be a big plus for peace and stability in the region and also on the continent.
Now, this is one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult Kenyan election so far to predict the outcome of. So now we're only left with the opinion polls, and judging from the previous elections, can you safely say that these opinion polls have been reliable?
Opinion polls have been very reliable in Kenya. The previous opinion poll put President Kenyatta slightly ahead of Odinga, and indeed said that he would win by a slight margin and managed to avoid rerun, or what we call a run of fear. This time, opinion polls are putting both men neck to neck, and even all of them, all the opinion polls that have come out have shown that none of the two candidates will garner the required 50% majority to be able to take it on the first round. So Kenyans are actually bracing themselves for politics and another election, and a whole year of politics, because even to be a runoff, then it will happen sometime in September.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for update and for getting in touch with us. We'll certainly be in touch with you a little later on. That is reporter Sarah Kimani speaking to us live from Nairobi, wherein the country is observing a day of national prayer as the country gears for the presidential elections to be held next Tuesday. Let's move on to other news now. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo says the only solution to peace